going on, YouTube-averse? John Stanek from Jobby Radio here, bringing you another Viva La Vinyl classic album review here on Pearl Jam Week, and I'm so excited to be talking to you about the best Pearl Jam album, 10, their debut album from 1991. And you can see by the different color tone, the sepia tone, and the fact that this is double the size, this is the double LP remastered version, which has the original version and the remaster by Brendan O'Brien. Both awesome versions. And check out the inside of this. You see all the hand-scribbled lyrics by Eddie Vedder, some photos in here, really cool, and I love both versions. Brendan O'Brien's, of course, has a little more grit, a little more teeth, what he's known for. Of course, he went on to produce many of their other albums from then on, but I actually like Rick Parishar's original version and tend to like that better, I think, just because I'm so used to it. That's what I grew up on. You know, I wore this thing out back in 1991 when I had it on cassette tape, and it's just like a warm blanket. You know, you get so used to hearing something a certain way, and even for a musician or someone who loves music so much, it's hard to move away from that. But both versions are great, so let's get into it here. Man, 1991, August is when this came out, and of course the grunge Seattle scene had not yet exploded yet. That wouldn't happen until December when Nirvana's Nevermind came out and just kind of exploded. And then from then on, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, all those bands became global phenomenons, and the rest is history. And of course, at the time, they were blowing off the chart all these 80s hair bands that were singing more about topics about like partying and getting girls, and that was getting a little old. And I think bands like Pearl Jam especially were a breath of fresh air because lyrically, these songs were really about something. You know, you had Alive talking about Eddie Vedder's childhood, about how he grew up with a father that turned out to not be his real father, and he didn't realize until after his father passed away. That is also revisited on the song Release. Just really sorrowful, but the way they turn it into this anthemic rocker on any of those songs is just amazing, and it's really for me especially, and a lot of people that in different ways grew up either fatherless or out of broken homes, it really connected very strongly and continues to this day. And then you've got songs like Jeremy, which he took from a newspaper headline, a real story about back in 91, a kid who commits suicide in front of his classmates. Resonated now, maybe even more so today with everything that's going on. You've got even Flow, an upbeat rocker, is about homelessness. So it's like, you have all these serious themes, many of them dark, many of them very sad, even Black, which is essentially a breakup song that is just so heartbreaking, but the performance by Vedder is just, oh man, incredible. And we got to talk about Eddie Vedder's vocal. He, specifically didn't sound like anyone else of that era. He had that kind of deep growl to his voice that nobody had, but then he could also do such an amazing, beautiful falsetto on songs like Oceans, which is another underrated gem on this track. For all the hits that are on here, you have all these gems like Oceans, like Porch, Garden, Deep. I mean, all the songs on here are strong. It ranged from great to just amazing. Of course, Alive is my personal favorite because you've got that strong anthemic chorus, I'm Still Alive, and then you've got just that amazing guitar solo that goes on forever at the end by Mike McCready, who really is the MVP of Pearl Jam. I mean, he infuses this kind of Jimi Hendrix sound into this punk rock. Obviously they wear a lot of influences on their sleeve. They love bands from the 60s like The Who, the Beatles, the Stones, but they've got it all because McCready is just really one of the most underrated lead guitarists of all time. And then everybody in this band is amazing. You got Jeff Ament, who, along with Stone Gossard, did most of the songwriting on this album. I mean, they and I know many of you know the history. It's almost like a superhero origin story of how this band started. But, Stone and Jeff picked up the pieces from Mother Love Bone that the singer Andy Wood had passed away. And, they started making these demos and were sending it out. And Jack Irons, the drummer from Red Hot Chili Peppers at the time, passed the cassette tape over to Eddie Vedder, and he just in one sitting put these lyrics to Alive and Footsteps, I believe it was, sent it back, and they're like, man, you got to fly out here immediately. And within a couple weeks, they were Pearl Jam. Of course, originally they were called Mookie Blaylock, probably one of the worst band names ever. I'm glad they didn't stick with that. And, this album was made in just a few months after that, them getting together. It was just so incredible, so spontaneous, and you could really feel that energy and that emotion coming through on all these songs. As I said, so much of Vedder's lyrics ring with this kind of raw honesty and truth that come out of his personal life, and I don't think he ever really wrote anything since that kind of matched that intensity. Even though, of course, so many other great albums, Versus, Vitalogy, Yield, they're still selling out arenas, and deservedly so. They're just one of the best rock bands of all time, and this one of the best debut albums ever. It is not perfect in my opinion. There's a couple songs on here. I don't skip them, but I don't think that they're as amazing as some of the other hits on here, like Once and Why Go. They're great, but they're not like perfect. You know what I mean? So this to me is a 9 out of 10. It is a masterpiece, definitely Pearl Jam's best. And, I'd love to see what you think in the comments below. What would you rate this if you had to give it a grade? And what are some of your favorite tracks on here? And is there anything that I'm leaving out? I'm trying to keep my thoughts succinct, but also, give you a little history about Pearl Jam on here. 10 is just, it's one of my favorites. And, I grew up on it, and it's awesome. And if you haven't heard it, definitely check it out. So guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you watching. And as always,
Viva La Vinyl. So please click like and subscribe by clicking the Johnny Radio icon to the right. There's also some other content for your viewing pleasure. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.